Today I want to talk about filigree. Filigree is all about flow, and it's all about hand movement and getting that natural signature look. Signature being defined by the way you sign something. The reason why someone's signature looks unique to them is because they've done it so many times. The same thing goes with filigree, same with really anything that you draw. The more you do it, the more natural it will look. So there's no shortcut to that. The only shortcut to getting good at anything is to put the time in as fast as possible. The time still has to be put in. So if you want to go from point A to point B, if you want to run 10 miles, the only shortcut to running 10 miles is run it faster. The only shortcut to getting good at drawing is put in the time. So there's a lot of different places that you can reference for filigree. You can look at furniture and frames and books, of course, old paintings. One of my favorite references is a $1 bill made by the United States of America. This filigree around the two circles on the back of a $1 bill is just a masterfully made decoration. And that's what filigree is. It's a decorative border that you would put around anything. It can be its own subject, but it's really nice to add to anything that you're drawing, be it floral stuff or it just doesn't matter. It's a nice way to finish off an edge to an image when you're tattooing. Anyway, I'm going to attempt to reference this off the back of this dollar bill and show you the key points in it. So it's really a big S curve. There's a C curve there, or I'm going to just refer to it as S curves or arcs. This arc is a C curve, doesn't have that kickback that the S does. So all I'm doing is imitating what I'm seeing in this. My eyes are just looking for specific points. Now, what I want to point out is the fact that the ending point or beginning point of each of these arcs, if you look at it, it's staggered from where the other one ended. And that's where a lot of people will miss it, is they'll do a loop and then they'll do another loop, and they're too parallel or linear, and you'll be able to draw a line across and line them up. If I were to grid this out, these points are all staggered, and I'll show that with a red pencil in a second. But what you want to practice, I think, before you start worrying about the details of what you're doing, is practice staggering those points. I'll illustrate here. Let's see. By drawing with this red pencil. To go from one point to another, it goes, I'm going to do it with this red pen, sorry. This makes a triangle. It's not linear, it's not making squares. There's a triangle right here. There's a triangle here. I need another. Well, I'll do this triangle. Now you can see these triangles, I think these are what make it appealing to the eye, is the fact that your eye can connect those in these shapes rather than linear or horizontal and vertical lines. If I were to draw more lines, I could connect this one comes down and it doesn't hit any other point. This comes down, doesn't hit any other point. This comes down. That might line up with that one. But in general, these points don't really line up. And that's what gives it that nice organic flow. So that's something that you can practice over and over and over just with a Sharpie. I like using a light Sharpie because it doesn't impede on the drawing too much, and it doesn't get picked up by a copy machine if you wanted to keep drawing on this without tracing paper. So I use my red pen. Once you get that flow, you can start bringing in all the little details you want. And this is just like drawing that peony petal, and that in that you can loop it. You can loop it back on itself. You can make long loops. You can make short ones. You can layer them. And you can get as fancy or simple as you want. You can have it flip up on itself. So this is where it kind of brings in the other things that we've drawn prior to this, like the peony petals, cherry blossoms, where it can come up on itself and you're looking at the back side of the petal or whatever you want to call this. So you could actually create depth inside here where these are cupped in. You could have shading in there, or you could keep it flat, or you could do etching style. Again, you want to stagger everything. When you have it come out to a point, just make sure you look across and down. I would say linear, check that it's gone farther than another point on your filigree. You just don't want it to look real linear and box those things in. Stagger all the points. Each point should be at its own stopping place on that big arc or a curve. The only thing that's going to give you your signature look as far as the way you do it is by doing it over and over and over. Practice makes perfect. Okay, so a tip on how to move. If you're thinking of the mechanics of your arm, if you're using your fingers, there's not enough control in that, so it'll wobble all around. If you're using your wrist, you have this little pivot point, this little arc. So I think the best way to move is to move from your shoulder, and you can keep things really smooth. You can get your arcs to go really smooth if you think of point A to point B by using your shoulder and moving that down. I mean, of course your elbow is going to bend, your wrist might move, but in general you want that movement to come from your shoulder, whether you're doing a straight line. So I can draw a straight line just like a ruler by keeping my wrist, my elbow, everything fixed and just pulling from my shoulder. So people say, how do you do a straight line? Just make sure you come from the biggest body part possible. So that's how I'm going to pull these lines, and that takes practice too, but you don't want to sit here like this and use your wrist or your fingers. You have no control by doing that. You'll have all these etchings and all these breaking points. Your wrist doesn't do it either. It's all in your shoulder. That's like magic. You want to know a trick? That's the trick. Okay.